It's a pleasure to be here. I had some great conversations with some of you last night. What an impressive group. You're doing so many amazing things. What I hope to do today, I'm pretty confident that I can't teach you anything, so I hope to just inspire you with a couple of thoughts. What I want to talk about today, I'm going to talk about product innovation at Virgin America and how that really impacts the marketing that we did. But first, Nancy has allowed me to share a little story about somebody that I met virtually. So I'm going to be talking to you about a gentleman named Amit Gupta for about 5 minutes, and then I'll move into my presentation. All right. Let me just make sure that I think we might have the wrong slideshow up. We have the one that is not edited. So if we could switch that out and pull up the other one. Okay, so I'm going to talk and ad-lib here for a minute while they switch that out. Okay, so Amit Gupta is somebody that I met. I haven't met him live. I know a couple of people that know him. And when you guys are looking for the presentation, there's a picture of him that's orange background. Amit is 32. He is in the tech community in San Francisco. He founded a couple of great companies. About 3 weeks ago, he was diagnosed with leukemia. He happens to be of Indian descent, South Asian descent, and I know that some of you guys are in the medical community because I looked at all of the list of attendees. To find a bone marrow transplant when you are South Asian, the chances are 1 in 20,000 people. So I have never met Amit, but I know a couple of his friends, and with that, we know that the world of social media is changing everything from 6 degrees of separation now down to 4 degrees of separation. So I'm pretty confident I've connected to a bunch of you in the audience somehow. You guys are getting the whole presentation. Okay, so Amit, when I heard about his story, there's a woman at Stanford who's doing some work trying to spread the word of his story. I am doing a lot of blogging right now for Ad Age and for Huffington Post. So I put together a story that ran in Ad Age last week, and it basically said, "Can social media save Amit Gupta?" The article ran last week. It was retweeted about 780 times. I had my friends at People Browser do a quick analysis on the reach of that article. It's reached over 14 million people in about a span of a week. So you can show that the power of digital communications are really helping us uncover kind of the needle in the haystack moment. At the same time, I chatted with a bunch, there he is, that's Amit, and he is actually watching us on Twitter right now. At the same time, I reached out to quite a few key influencers that I know, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Tim Ferriss. People started retweeting. So what I want you guys to think about is the power of digital communications. Last night, I was talking to a bunch of people that were in retargeting, talking about how they put cookies on things and find the right people at the right time. So here's the story that I just referenced. I just quickly want to point out that Amit has 40 days right now to find a perfect bone marrow match. So there is a bunch of us in San Francisco, and we are trying to continue to spread the word. I know that lots of people probably have medical situations and health situations, but we look at this as an example of if we can help figure out ways to help one person, others will be helped in the process. Now, of those 14 million people that have been reached, we did look at how many people have actually done cotton swab tests, and right now the additional people that have done tests, it's only about 700 people. So there's a big lack between tweeting and social media to actually taking action. So what we're trying to figure out is how to get people to move from a tweet to actually taking action. This is actually the first time I've made not an ask or a plea. This is just an ask, and if you feel engaged to get involved, we'd appreciate it. But what we're looking for is ways to reach the South Asian audience very, very quickly. We are looking for people to help spread the word. If it's a tweet, just sending out the message. Amit's phone number, I've put it up here. It's 212-757-4263, or he's at Super Amit. The other handle that you see there is Acre. That is a professor at Stanford who's also helping. So That is my ask, to see how we as a digital community can figure out ways to find the needle in the haystack. So if you want to get involved, we would appreciate it. With that, I will now move on to Virgin America. All right. How'd I do with not having the slides? All right? All right, perfect. Okay. So what I wanted to talk about is that I'm so fortunate that I've worked at Virgin America for the past 4 years. A lot of people always say, you guys have the most amazing marketing. And I've been thinking a lot about this, and the day that Steve Jobs passed away, I thought even more about it, because people have said it's like flying in an iPod, that your product, it's so brilliant, it's amazing. And I thought, you know what, there are people that have been working on this great product, and no one even knows, all the efforts that it took to get the plane into the sky. So, you guys actually are going to get to hear the story that has never been shared. I don't even think our CEO has seen these photos, because these are all from prior to his arrival at the airline. Ken Beeler, who is an engineer with the company, he was employee number 26. The day that Steve passed away, I emailed Ken. I said, tell me everything that you went through for the product. What did you go through to get the product in the sky? So, Ken and I pulled this presentation together. I have a real belief that as we become more digital and people are really engaging in social media, and there's two-way conversations between brands and companies, that marketing and product are much more transparent, much more integrated. When I started my career, I can remember marketing campaigns that were built around fake histories. I don't know if you guys recall Black Star Beer. It was a campaign that was put together by Wyden and Kennedy. It was all a fake history. We can't do that anymore. Consumers are so smart, they actually know everything that's going on with the brand. In our situation, they're flying on a plane and they're tweeting. If something's going to go wrong, they're going to talk about it. Our mission for Virgin America was to create an airline that people love. In the past, how many of you have had negative airline experiences? Oh my gosh, only about 60%. I would think every single hand would go up. The airline category in the past was all about lost bags. It was about peanuts. It was about lines. It was stressful. People hated flying. So in 2003, a team of people got together and started the Virgin America vision. That's 4 years prior to us actually flying. So it was 4 years of hard work, 4 years of innovation to create an airline that people love. It started with the premise that the category was broken. Richard Branson believes that every company should be a consumer champion and give people a better situation in a category. He had already launched Virgin Atlantic about 20 years prior, and we decided to do Virgin America. All the little details, even down to how the logo is going to be on the tail fin, ultimately are going to impact your marketing. It's going to impact your branding. Even this, the original drawing was a fight, because you may notice, if you're a graphic designer in the room, the N gets cut off a little bit, the V gets cut off. It's actually against regulation with Virgin. You're never supposed to cut off the logo. We worked very hard on that. There was also a whole situation with paint. The team had selected some paint when they did the first initial paint job on the tail. When the sunlight hit it, it ended up being this bright pink tail. So when the first planes came, we ended up ordering them. That's Ken, the engineer that I mentioned. Ordering them without the paint, because we were still working on all the formulas. So here is Ken, employee number 23. Right now we have about 2,000 employees at Virgin America, standing with one of the first arrivals of Virgin America. I talked to Ken, I said, you know what, tell me, what are some of the things that you do to create these planes? He is one of these tinkerers. He has a wood shop in his garage. I asked him to send me this list. I said, you know what, what's in your garage, Ken? Tell me, what you go through. He sent me a list. It was about 100 things. In his garage, wheel saws, something called a biscuit cutter. Does anyone know what a biscuit cutter is? I have no idea, but he's got a biscuit cutter. And I said, well, what are you doing in your garage? I'm just going to read off a couple of them. I'm prototyping, I'm casting foam, I'm sewing leather seat cushions together, I'm looking at plastic engraving. This is passion. This is someone who's going above and beyond, and these are the types of people that are creating breakthrough products that create breakthrough marketing. All right, there we see a sample of the tail fin, actually with the red paint on it. Here is the interior of an airplane when it's in construction. There are miles and miles and miles of electrical cabling in our airlines. They're all very safe, very tested. But we have more cabling because how many of you have flown on Virgin America? Yay! Half of you have flown on us. We were the first airline to do full fleet in-flight Wi-Fi. That is one of the major reasons that we've actually been successful with digital communications and technology. We have an outlet at your seat, so all of you with your laptops could fly on us for up to 6 hours with your laptop plugged in, tweeting, Facebook status. You could be talking about the mood lighting. You could be talking about the food. So again, a technology-driven business is going to do better in a digital world. Here we have a sample of the purple glass that's in our planes. There is an aha moment when you walk into a Virgin America airplane, kind of a wow. I've seen a lot of people say, this looks like a nightclub. People take out their phones, they start snapping pictures. We've had people do impromptu musical performances. That alone, that plastic, went through rounds and rounds and rounds of testing to get the right color, to get the right texture. So here I am as a marketer. I get all these kudos for pushing out mood lighting, but really behind the scenes, it's a complete engineering team working on innovation. So I do believe that as marketers and media agencies, the more you can get involved in technology and also product development, the more successful you're going to be. Challenging the norms. Here is an airplane without seats in it, kind of crazy. The team was so passionate that one of the flights, when they were delivering this plane, it's against the law, so don't tweet this out. No seat belts. You know, a couple people actually rode in sleeping bags in the back of the plane because they were so passionate about the airline and getting this to the delivery site. All right, challenging the norms. One of the main things that happened in the first 4 years of Virgin America is that the vendors and the people that we approached, they all said, it's never been done that way. What the team did, they kept saying, well, because it hasn't been, doesn't mean it can't be. In the aviation industry, obviously, there's a lot of regulations. The FAA is constantly doing testing. Anytime we do something new, we will fly an experimental plane without passengers. The first one that actually went out, the sticker experimental, we got the stickers from Home Depot, put them on the side of the plane. So this is a startup. So for those of you that are in a startup, Virgin America was definitely a startup when it started. We now have one bird that we have named it. The hashtag of the name of the plane is NerdBird. That hashtag alone has gotten us tons of digital press. Again, integrating digital thoughts into the naming sequence of the plane has been a great strategy for us to get extra eyeballs and earn media. Here's just a shot of what the planes looked like when they were in development. There was tons of testing on the leather seats. Should they be white? Should they be black? How should the in-flight entertainment system look? The in-flight entertainment system, for those of you that have flown on us, at present, there's no Wi-Fi in the seat back, but in 2012, we've already announced this, we are working on bringing Wi-Fi capabilities to the seat back. We are also doing a larger monitor. It will be similar to an iPad, so it will have capacitive touchscreen instead of just the pointing. One of our CEO's biggest complaints is if you're sitting in a seat and you have someone who's pointing, and your seat back is going. Has anyone had that happen? All right, a couple of you. Very annoying, or it's like a little kid who's kicking the seat back. Now you will actually be able to swipe. So imagine iPad magazines, interactive magazines. Another big shift in technology, since a lot of you are technology focused. The old system was based on a Linux system. The new one is going to be a Microsoft Silverlight system with HTML programming on it. What this means to us is that in the past, it took 45 days to load the content. Now, content can be loaded wirelessly on a daily basis. So that changes the game for advertising, for content, for updates. Imagine yourself flying. You are on a flight from Vegas to JFK. We actually fly that route. You could actually have an offer that's pushed out to you about a hotel or a cab when you arrive. So your shopping behavior, all the things that you're doing in the plane will shift. For those of you that are interested in data tracking, on the new system we'll also have something similar to Omniture tags, so we'll understand your behavior. So imagine if you're flying and you watch a movie, perhaps you're watching an action film. Well, then the next time you're flying, if you've plugged in your loyalty number, we may say, welcome back. What's your name? Karen? Carrie. So welcome back, Carrie. We know you like action films. Enjoy a free margarita on us while you watch the latest version of some great film. All right? So we're going to start understanding your behavior based on your loyalty profile and doing all sorts of great things in the plane. So staying technology focused, this is what the current system looks like now. On the right side is a server that has all of the hardware underneath the plane, and then you see what's on the floorboards. Pretty crazy, huh? The new system will have 3/4 less wire involved in the plane just because of improvements in technology. What does that mean for you as a guest? That means less weight in the airplane. That means less fuel, hopefully more competitive pricing and a competitive edge, which leads to better marketing, better prices. So it's all a big circle. Again, just another belief that you can't split apart product and marketing. Teamwork. We all know that getting the right people is one of the biggest keys to success. Again, here's Ken. Here's another individual, Charles Ogilvy, who started with us at the very beginning. He is now with Panasonic in Japan. What they're doing here is they were testing the Wi-Fi systems. Again, before anything is released to the public on a plane, you have to do extensive testing. So for us, when we launched Wi-Fi, even though it was about $100,000 per plane to put the antennas on the top, we thought our digital guests, what more could they want than Wi-Fi in the plane? Now for us, when we were working on this, we thought, this is crazy. I can't believe you could have Wi-Fi at 35,000 feet. In 3 short years, it's now actually become an accepted practice. But when we started this, it was very revolutionary. So Ken and Charles, what they're doing here is they're actually up on a test flight. They are making sure that the Wi-Fi doesn't interfere with the pilot controls. What does this mean for the future? Well, we're not letting people use their cell phones on yet, but there are possibilities that future innovation could bring other product experiences into the plane. Fighting mediocrity. This is something that I talk a lot about with marketing and product development. But here, if you've flown on us, you will recognize that this is not the final cabin. Even little details like the stickers on the seat, that's how the planes were delivered. The team thought that it hurt the eye line, and so they fought with the FAA, so we didn't have to have those little round stickers or the words below. So again, every single detail makes a difference. Another story of fighting mediocrity is headsets. I remember about 3 years ago, my CEO, David Cush, came walking down to my office and he said, you know, Porter, I don't want to do it, but gas prices were at an all-time high. Gas was at $1.47 a barrel at this time. We were still a startup. There was a full recession. Swine flu happened at the same time. The outside influences in the airline industry are incredible. So he said, we need to start selling headsets. So at that point, we had these little teeny black headsets. What we decided to do instead was we designed headsets that actually had a little bit of weight to them. They were in pink, silver, and blue. So, you know, a couple weeks later, the designer working on the project and myself, we went in to see David. We said, we're going to do pink headsets. He's like, are you crazy? Who's going to wear these pink headsets? I said, trust us. Pink headsets, it'll be fun. So here, one little innovation point. What happened was that at the gate areas, people from other airlines like JetBlue would come over, buy our headset, bring it back to their plane. I've seen the headsets at Starbucks. I've seen them at the gym. I see, unlikely prospects, a big, huge 6'5" man with the pink headsets on. Again, this is another brand touch point, and it was something that we didn't have to do. It's those little bits. I've seen lots of social media posts about one simple headset, even a dog wearing a headset. So again, every touch point can help you get the word out and fight mediocrity. Obstacles. I'm imagining that in your businesses you have lots of obstacles that happen all the time. Can anyone guess what is happening in this picture? Any hands up? It kind of reminds me of like a dance rave where people would dance in foam at a nightclub. I've never been to one of those, but I've seen pictures. How about you in the front row? Any guess?
Testing for a snowstorm.
That's a very good guess. All right, so the planes were just about to roll out. Anyone else want to guess? Oh, I love that, cloud photo shoot. Lightning hit the hangar where all the planes were stored. Foam started coming down from the ceilings right when the planes were supposed to go out on delivery. So here is one strange occurrence where 3 days of delay happened with the planes. So this is actually a safety mechanism that happened. It's the team cleaning up the planes. But I guess the point is that when you're doing a startup, anything that can happen will, right? So the team kept going, but then at the same time, the Department of Transportation actually denied our right to fly. After 9/11, it was very hard for domestic airlines to get the approval to fly. The Department of Transportation thought that Virgin America had too many ties to Europe. You can only have 24% of your business owned by outside parties or non-domestic parties. They felt that with Richard Branson and also our CEO at the time, who was from Lufthansa, they thought we were too un-American to fly. So we had to go into hiding. We didn't want anyone to see the planes, so all the planes were camouflaged. That's what they looked like. We had to camouflage everything. So here is this beautiful fleet of airplanes, camouflaged, not flying. Because the lease payments on airplanes are exorbitant, we leased back all the planes to various companies, and they use them for cargo, they use them for other things. So again, here it is. It's overcoming obstacles of the airlines trying to fly. There's people fighting. At the same time, they decided to get help from the digital community. At this point, there were videos that were made and put out on YouTube, just the interior of the plane, saying, please help us write to Congress. And so a lot of digital influencers like Zenny from Boing Boing, Kevin Rose from Dig, people started creating videos. They started creating questionnaires and getting us more momentum, and soon we ended up getting the right to fly. But while we were waiting, we had planes on the ground sitting in Rome, New York, 12 feet of snow. We constantly had to keep the airplanes clean and going. This is actually the first paparazzi shot of our plane. It was being cleaned and it was brought to Rome, New York. This shot was taken by a Northwest pilot, and it went all over the internet. People were so excited. What's Virgin America doing? Here's their new plane. This is what it looks like. And from there, an airline was born. The reason we have so many great partnerships and we've had this amazing social media is because of this complete commitment to the product and a complete commitment to technology. As a result of that, being in the Bay Area helped too, but as a result of that, we've had long-standing relationships with Google, with Twitter. We constantly have people from all the digital partners and the digital startups coming to us and asking for support. We've done things with Groupon, with Looped, but it wasn't always a huge team. Here's how it all started. On the left is Nick, who was an intern who came to work for me. He was still in college. We started using social media about 3 years ago. I don't think we told anyone, we just started doing it. And then one day I went to David and I said, we put up a Facebook page and a Twitter page and people are getting really engaged and everyone's talking to us. So this is Nick. He is with MC Hammer. I don't know if you guys know MC Hammer, but he was a rapper, right? He also happens to be very engaged in the digital space. He's making tons of influence, and he invests in tons of tech companies. He's a very smart and lovely man. He was flying on us. That's our first class cabin there. This is prior to Nick meeting him. He was tweeting about how much he loved us. Nick started a relationship with Hammer. Thanks for flying with us. We really appreciate your support. The next thing I know, we are launching a new market. I look over in the corner, and who is over in the corner? Nick and MC Hammer. The two of them created this relationship that started as a virtual tweet. He started coming to our parties. MC Hammer then asked us if he could film his reality show on our plane. One thing led to another, and that's how social media evolves and works, totally extending our reach, getting us visibility, and as a marketer with a very limited budget, it's a great way to get exposure. For us, social media, I mean, I'm sure that many of your clients are using it. We've grown from Nick being a part-time employee. It's only 2 people that are staffing social media right now at Virgin America, but we use it for engagement, so it's primarily just activating our loyal fans. We also use it for some service recovery. So there have been situations on the plane where we've seen people tweet. We had a first-class guest say, "I didn't get my sandwich. I'm upset." We saw it. We sent a message up to the pilot from headquarters. It's called an ACARS message. We send up the message. We say, "Hey, our guest in 2B is hungry. Get him a sandwich." What happens? We end up having a customer for life. So that person starts retweeting. They saved, they brought me a sandwich. They helped me. This has gone on and on and on in terms of helping people with information on delays. Social media monitoring for us has also been great for operations. There have been some times when people have noted your website is slow. We can get that message to IT really quickly. That could save us hundreds of thousands of dollars. Then, of course, we do use it for promotion. Promotion's been very successful for us. We were fortunate that Dick Costello over at Twitter asked us to be one of the beta customers on Promoted Tweets. Promoted Tweets for us, when we did a early bird sale, it was actually a charity-driven sale too. It was our 5th largest sales day. So we have been able to get ROI off of our social media. We put omniture tags on everything, and we are certainly tracking, and we've seen over the last 3 years a steady growth of ROI. But I do tell the team that social media for us is still more of an engagement tool. We have done research where we've taken our Facebook guests and we've cross-tabbed it with our loyalty program, and we still have found that the most important revenue channels for us are still email, online advertising, but social media is definitely a growing channel for the airline. Okay, what's going on here? I'm going to put another person on the spot. Right there in the front, right there, table number 4. What do you think's happening in this shot? Either one of you. Okay, it's a taco truck. Taco trucks, all the food trucks are really big in San Francisco. Someone last night, and I was talking about, what do you think are the most important trends? The person answered location-based promotions, location-based connection. This is a location-based promotion that we did with Looped. It was in conjunction with launching our Mexico route. What we offered was that if people came to this taco truck, they could get a 2-for-1 ticket to Mexico and 2-for-1 tacos. The interesting thing about this, the promotion was huge, but more importantly, we pitched it out to USA Today and ended up getting a full-page article in USA Today that basically said, social media is helping the travel industry. So again, first mover advantage, trying these things, even if they don't have huge ROI, can potentially get you some great press. And so I always encourage people, test and learn, try to do as many things as you can that are turnkey. Here is just a closing shot of the new system that we're going to have. What I want you to think about with the new system, since you're all technology and media folks and brand people, this will actually have connectors so that you can connect your iPad, you can connect your phone, you can do dual monitors. There will probably be some functionality where if you start watching a movie on the plane and you don't finish it, you can download it to your iPad, bring it home, finish it up. We'll continue to have lots of engagement. Right now we have seat-to-seat chat in the airplane. An individual last night said to me, I wonder if people have actually met and hooked up from that. We have had one marriage from seat-to-seat chat. And because they were a lovely couple, we invited them to a Valentine's Day party with Richard Branson. So that was a highlight for that couple. But for us, again, Virgin America is going to keep innovating. It's collaboration with great tech partners that lets us do all these great marketing things. I always look for things that are low cost and low budget and that are more technology-based and partnership-based, and that's been one of our keys to success. So with that, I know we were going to move into a Q&A session. There are some of you that I've talked to that were asking me about things like digital apps and what we've done in digital platforms. So even though I talked mainly about the product, feel free to open up your questions to a broader scope. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Porter. So Porter, I'm going to kick it off with the first question. You talked a lot about social media. You got into some of the location-based services stuff, marketing that you've been doing with Looped, and the taco truck is a great example of that. What's next for Virgin America? What can we expect to see from them in terms of marketing innovation? What categories are you pushing into? And who are some of those partners that you might be looking to work with in that effort?
Yeah, sure. We have done things with partners like Instagram. That's also another company that came up last night. I think they're doing really interesting things, especially if you look at their brand pages. So that's a great way to visually kind of get understandings about brands and photos. We have done quite a few things with group buying. Again, that's more of a buzz play for us. I think that in the group buying scenario, we still need to figure out the business model to make it work for the retailer or the back-end partner, but it certainly can help get new people in. I think the biggest innovation for us is really going to be about the seatback system and then also integrating the loyalty program into the plane so that there's more customer care and also relationship with the flying guest so that you can use your points for purchasing food and drinks and we can better understand what your needs and your preferences are. So those are the real areas for us that we're really pushing. In terms of marketing spend, right now we spend about 70% of our budget on digital. That will continue to grow. 70% of our sales are on our website. People that are digitally savvy are only a click away from buying a ticket, so we will continue to do more and more in the digital space. The one place that I will admit Virgin America has been remiss in is mobile. Some of that is that as a growing company with limited IT resources, mobile has been a pretty challenging platform for us, so you should see a lot of mobile advancements in the next year or so.
Okay, we have a question from Mark Silva.
Hey, thanks for that. I love the marriage of product and brand and marketing. It's so obvious and so few people do it well. So there's a rumor going around the valley that if you have a clout score of 60 or more, you never get bounced from a Virgin flight.
Oh, that is a funny rumor. When Clout came out, I do remember them coming in and pitching us. Joe from Clout came in. I was like, wow, this is really a cool thing. And so we did do a test with Clout for Toronto, and we gave some free tickets away to people living in Toronto when we launched that market. I think that effort with them started that rumor. But I will tell you, we do not have the bandwidth or the sophistication yet to team your Clout scores with our reservation system, so that rumor is definitely not true. I believe that the Palms here in Las Vegas, though, I believe, and I could be starting my own rumor, that they do check your Clout score when you're checking in, and so at the Palms you might get better perks if you have a higher Clout score.
John Walker from Covell Fuller Advertising Agency. I was wondering, what operating system are you using for the in-flight flat touch screens?
The current operating system?
Yeah, are you using like an Android-based Google or?
Yeah, the current one is Linux-based software, and I honestly don't know what the GUI is on it, but it's very archaic and very hard to change, and so every single change that we would do would be months in the works and at least $100,000. But with the new system, it will be very flexible. One of the reasons that we went with Silverlight was because the movie studios are much more comfortable with that in terms of encoding and piracy issues. But the next system is leagues beyond the current one, and so I hope, similar to what's happened with Wi-Fi, is that the whole industry will follow, and that what you'll have as a flying guest is better services across the category.
Hi, Adam Kleinberg, Traction. Porter, thank you for...
Hi, Adam.
Hey.
Adam and I met on Twitter, by the way.
Well, thank you for inspiring us. It was great. And my question is about innovation. It seems like there's a shelf life between innovation and commoditization, right? When I think it was United 25 years ago introduced the first frequent flyer program, it was probably very innovative and a big differentiator that separated their product from the pack. And 3 years later, it was probably something that was a minimum standard in the industry. So I guess my two-part question is, A, does that shelf life on something like putting Wi-Fi in planes first impact your decision? And B, are you really focusing where you innovate based on an innovation, like an ROI model like that, or is it really, hey, I just know pink is going to work?
Yeah, I mean, great questions. The airline industry is very complex because every time you're innovating, if you have to put a plane on the ground and redo the systems and then go back into testing, you're losing tons of revenue from the lost passengers, right? So there's always a calculation. Now, for the older fleet types of the competitive airlines, it's very hard for them because their fleet is so large. When we put in Wi-Fi, we had 28 planes. So the larger your fleet size, the harder it is for you to innovate because of the cost across a number of planes. I think at this point we're at about 40 planes. We have 60 that are on order over the next 5 years. So we are still small enough where innovating is possible, and we still believe that's core to our brand. Now, when we're looking at it, we do, of course, look at the ROI, but the main filter is really about guest experience because we believe that the guest experience is critical to usage, to repeat trial, to marketing, and that we have found that the earned media from these small innovations in marketing and press outweighs some of the costs to increasing the experience in the plane. Does that answer your question? Good. Thank you.
How are you? I'm Tim Sullivan from AT&T.
Hi.
I was interested to learn more from you why there were so many early adopters from airlines for things like GoGo or Boingo, and how it differentiated from you guys in regards to building wireless internally within the plane itself.
Okay, so why there are so many early adopters?
No, just like how that came into fruition. Just because I was interested to learn the difference between if you guys wanted to work with them, or if you didn't. Obviously building it yourself is a little bit different. Because for us, we didn't have a product department, which is weird for me to say. We had engineering and marketing, and so I know a lot about the product experience on the plane. I worked very closely with engineering. In the Wi-Fi, for those of you that are into like geeky technology, right now Wi-Fi is a tower-based system across the country, GoGo is. But in the future, in the near future, you're going to start having satellite systems that are RU band and much faster and a lot speedier than the current towers. We went with GoGo after an extensive RFP. They are tower-based. Some of you that fly us on a frequent basis, you may start to recognize that the take rates, because they're higher, about a third of the plane is now using Wi-Fi, that the connection is getting slower. We have stopped the use of video on the planes because we want people to have good functionality. But now what we're doing is there's an antenna that's on the top of the plane, and it is a one-direction antenna. We are putting on new antennas that will actually have a four-way direction, so they will look, each plane will look for the tower that has the most capacity. So there are technology innovations with the Wi-Fi that are changing. So stage one will be new antennas. Stage two, I think you're going to see people moving to satellites in the next couple of years. At that point, digital TV, all sorts of things that are more downloadable. You should be able to stream, direct TV into a plane when there's a satellite system. So you're going to see lots of advancements in the next 5 years. Over on the side.
Paul Mendoza with JumpTap. I wanted to see if I could possibly get some information with regards to your mobile challenges. I know that you said you had mobile challenges.
Yeah.
Would love to see if you could educate us on what those are and how, as an industry, how we can help you get further up the ladder with getting success within the mobile.
Thank you for that. Our main challenge is that we grew so fast as an airline. Again, this has been in the press, so it's not a secret, but we started with a reservation system that was not industry standard, and what we have found is that with our growth, we needed to switch over to Sabre, which is the industry reservation system. So for the last 10 months, our entire IT department has been focused on our res system cutover. That is happening this month. After that, then the team will be free to start looking at mobile again. I would say that some of our challenges that we faced, we started with an iPhone app. Reservation systems, there's just a lot of linking to back-end reservations, figuring out what people want, and then also programming for an Android, an iPhone. It was just too complex based on our staffing. So I think from a Virgin America standpoint, simple solutions that are turnkey, that actually solve a guest's need, are the best ones for the airline at this time.
One here and then one there. Okay. Me. Hi, I'm Patricia Clark from Zubobi. You've given some great examples today of how you've used the first mover advantage and also the importance of the customer experience to adopt a lot of new technologies, to try a lot of new things, whether it be Twitter, Instagram. You have any advice for the marketers in the room who are maybe trying to get buy-in to do those things themselves within their own organizations?
Yeah, I think that my advice would be is to try to get kind of an advisory group around the idea of social media. For us, we have someone from HR, we have someone from legal, so we have people that are buying into it. I think that you can make the case that social media is not going away. The growth of Facebook users, Google Plus is now at 40 million people. I think that, at least for us, we've seen a big shift. One example I would give you is that in the past we used to use a lot of microsites to drive promotions. Now those promotions, we will do them right on our Facebook page. We get better return, higher ROI and less development costs. So there's an efficiency to social media and a growth that's just not going away. So I think looking at the category trends is one way to try to convince people. The other thing that you could do is really watch the space and watch the category and see what others are doing, and start with one channel at a time. For us, Twitter has been more about kind of fast messaging, promotions, real-time service, and Facebook is more of an engagement channel and longer relationships. So think about what the objectives are for your company and kind of go one piece at a time.
Ali Rana from Dynamic Logic. Thank you for that. One of the big challenges facing marketers tends to be sort of the value of a Facebook fan. So following up on what you're saying, one of the things you mentioned, heard you speak about this before, is how you connected your loyalty database to your Facebook fan. Could you talk a little bit about how that process happened, what kind of cooperation you got from Facebook specifically, and then what were some of the results you found?
Yeah. Now, I know that Facebook has changed some of the rules and regulations about what you can do with the data, but at the time we did this, it was legal. So, find out first before you do this. But what we did, Razorfish actually came to us and they said, hey, we want to test this research. They took our Facebook database, we cross-tabbed it with our loyalty program. What we found was that there were really 4 distinct clusters of users on the airplane. There is a very vocal group that is a younger group that potentially isn't spending a lot of money, but our hypothesis is that these younger digital influencers are a prime target for us, and so they will be moving into a higher spend area. Some of the loyalty members that were the higher spenders right now are really more driven by email. In that research, we were able to figure out by every single channel what the different groups were using and what channel they liked. That helped us then, allocate budgets, look at potential targets for the future. But what I'll tell you is that this very, very vocal audience, we think that they're rich for potential future travel dollars.
Hi, Scott Clark with Innovid. We have the pleasure with our partners at Adapt TV of running interactive pre-roll for you and your brand. And I'm curious if you could comment about how you feel about video online, the notion of interactivity, engagement. Is that something that's important for you guys moving forward?
Yeah. Whenever you give a presentation, you think about all the things that you could have shown in the presentation. We just did a series of about 12 videos, and they ran in cinema. They're running in pre-roll on various video platforms. Again, I think video is really important for the future of the web. People's ability to retain messages, it's getting shorter and shorter and shorter. They're looking for little video sound bites. People are moving onto the web for more content. So I think video is a good place. Team that with the fact, again, this shows that I've been in the business for a while, but I do remember when doing a TV commercial was at least $1 million. We shot 12 very high quality videos. We created a green screen and a 3D rendering of our airplane. So we did one rendering of the airplane, then we did a green screen studio. We shot 12 videos. They look exactly like they're shot in the plane, but if you see any of them, they're not shot in the plane. The cost for that complete shoot was about $150,000 for 12 videos. So lower production costs, higher quality content, more eyeballs on video. I think video is really important for the future. Those videos for us were definitely a branding play, but we've seen a lot of pass along with them. They're very funny and kind of show kind of what the airline's all about. So thanks for your partnership on that.
Hi, I'm Caroline Gigerig from Initiative. I think what you did with Wi-Fi and certainly with Red was a clear innovation on the plane. But my question, especially being a true digital nerd, is what do you do when it goes down?
Yeah.
I like
how you said down.
Psychotic people like myself that have this raised level of expectation that it's always on, always available, and then there's a moment where the technology is not functioning.
Yeah. You must have started flying us early on, if you remember that. We used to call that a dark airplane, and it would be like so stressful. It'd be like, oh my God, tail 234 is flying dark. What are we going to do? And that's not only stressful on the guests, but the in-flight teammates who are working a flight, and they're trying to do great service, and you want to keep your employees happy. That was very hard on them. For those moments, which were much greater at the beginning, we would give away free drinks. We try different things. But what we found was playing with the system less frequently. When I mentioned that the software was this Linux-based software, every time you touch the system, it became more complicated and gave you a higher incidence of what we'd call a dark plane. So we started touching it less and less, and at the same time we parallel paths. We did this huge RFP on all the technology that's out there because consumer electronics is moving so much faster than airline electronics, and we decided that we're going to upgrade the system. But those were really hard moments for us. Sometimes afterwards we would say to people in a very honest email, we know you were flying on a plane where the IFE went dark. Because of that, we're going to give you a credit. Maybe it'd be $50, $75, and we'd admit when we were wrong and try to keep the guest happy.
We have time for one last question, Porter.
Hey, I'm Matt from Big Skillmore.
Hi, Matt.
Wondering if you could talk. Your innovation seems like it comes from your engineering and your internal. How do you use your agencies?
Yeah, you know what? We love the agency relationships that we've had have been really strong. We've worked with 11 for a long time. We've used a handful of smaller agencies too. But I am from a traditional ad agency background. I used to be a general manager of an ad agency, and we used to do focus groups all the time and kind of account planning. And I'll be honest, we're much more gut-driven at Virgin America and more about internally trying to figure out the product. So we're not doing tons of testing. There was one effort that was very pushing the boundaries quite a bit on some seating design that didn't get approved, but we did focus group that because it was very revolutionary seating. The agencies, for us are really involved more on the communication end, not as much on the product development end. But we have selected, we have a new partner that's working on the in-flight seat back. It just hasn't been announced yet, but a really great firm in San Francisco.
All right. Thank you, Porter.
Great. Thanks so much. Appreciate your time.